Disconnected. A few years ago, I would get a call on my cell phone around 2, 3 a.m. every morning. I would answer it, and there was this hellish sounding noise, like static mixed with screams. I changed my cell number after a month, and it stopped. And after a week or so, it began again. The exact same noise, exact same time. Finally, one day I decided to go back and dial the call. It was an old man that had no clue what I was talking about. Still, the calls persisted. If I didn't answer, it would call a few more times. No messages were left. I decided to say screw it. Ended my contract with this phone company, switched to a new one, and then got another new number. You guessed it, the screaming static calls continued after a short delay. By this time, I was terrified every night. Unsure why this was happening, I back-dialed the number again and got a different person. For a while, the calls stopped. So one day my mom asked me to listen to this weird message we got on our home phone. It was the static screaming. I freaked out. I back-dialed the number, and again it was disconnected this time. My mom and dad decided to get the police involved because we thought this was some kind of a crazy person calling. About 3 weeks passed without incident, then the calls started. About 3 a.m. the home phone rang, and it was the most terrifying sound I've ever heard. It sounded like screaming, static, and a buzzing saw sound, like someone was being tortured. We had a detective assigned to the incident and called him. He said he'd get right on it because our phone had a trace on it. They located the phone it was coming from. That was a payphone downtown. The detective called back within an hour and said he was on his way to our home. He arrived and entered the home. He had a strange look on his face. He said, "Well, I found the phone that the calls are coming from, and, well, I don't know how to say this, but what?" my father responded. He said that phone has been disconnected and out of service for 6 years. There wasn't even a receiver. It had been torn off many years ago. My mother's face had a look of horror, and my father looked confused. How could it be? The detective contacted the phone company, and they told him that there was no way possible that anyone could have made any kind of call from that phone. After that, the calls continued for a while, then just abruptly stopped. Was it some sort of sicko hacker, or was it something not of this world?